Welcome to another 3 Greens Monthly. We're getting to the end of the year, but as ever, planes keep flying, and with that come incidents that need to be examined. This month, we're looking at a couple of strange gear collapses in Tanzania, a case of wrong aircraft, wrong airport, and a very boring landing. Stay tuned because this is an eventful one. Let's start in Tanzania. An Embraer EMB 120, registered 5 Hotel Mike Juliet Hotel, was flying from Zanzibar to Kikomboga. It was operated by Unity Air Zanzibar, with 30 passengers on board and 3 crew. All was normal until the approach into Kikomboga, when the crew reported problems with the landing gear. They eventually landed at 0340 UTC, just after midnight local time, but their problems were far from over. The aircraft suffered a collapse of the right main landing gear, veered off the runway, and came to a stop on the grass beside it, resting on the belly of the fuselage and the right wing. Looking back, the crew probably received an unsafe gear indication in flight, and tried to extend it manually. This clearly didn't get the gear down and locked, however, and they were forced to land without the right-hand mains down and locked. A tricky task for even the most experienced of pilots. There were fortunately no injuries reported, a testament to the crew, as the aircraft sustained substantial damage. That's not the end of the story though, because in an eerie set of events, not more than 6 hours later, an aircraft suffered a gear collapse on the exact same runway. It was the exact same model of plane as well, an Embraer EMB 120. This one registered 5 Hotel Foxtrot Lima Mike for an airline named Sindbad. It also had 30 passengers and 3 crew. At 9:30 AM local time, it was accelerating for takeoff on Kikomboga's runway, bound for Zanzibar. It veered off the runway and collided with a building before coming to a stop. There were again no injuries, but the aircraft suffered substantial damage. Tanzania's National Park Organisation confirmed the accidents within the Mikumi National Park. It stated that the 2 aircraft had independently suffered gear collapses and runway excursions, but I for one will be intrigued to see the reports on both of them, to see if any way they're possibly linked, because it certainly was a peculiar set of events. Moving on to our next story, an EasyJet Switzerland Airbus A320 landed below fixed reserves in Zurich. It was an A320-200, registered Hotel Bravo Juliet Zulu Romeo, operating flight U2-1320 from Nice to Geneva. All aircraft are required by law to land with a fixed amount of fuel in their tanks, usually 45 minutes worth at their standard holding rate. If a pilot expects to land below this amount, they're required to declare a fuel emergency. Therefore, flights which become fuel emergencies always involve unusual and unfortunate sets of circumstances, and this one was no different. EasyJet 1326 initiated a go-around at its planned destination due to wind shear. It was reportedly almost at the runway when the crew elected to abort the landing. From here, probably because of the poor conditions, the crew decided to divert to Basel, but the conditions there were no better. Weather reports indicate they may have been even worse. The A320 attempted an approach onto Basel's runway 15, but again needed to go around, this time from about 500 feet. So 33 minutes after the initial go-around in Geneva, the crew declared a fuel emergency. They decided to divert to Zurich and told air traffic control they only had 18 minutes of fuel left in the tanks. Whether it was 18 minutes until dipping into their reserves or 18 minutes until fuel exhaustion is not clear, but they landed at Zurich on runway 14 about 13 minutes after the go-around in Basel, 92 minutes after departure from Nice. The Swiss Transportation Safety Investigation Board is investigating and has rated the occurrence as a serious incident. It stated that after declaring an emergency due to low fuel, the airliner landed at Zurich Airport. The amount of fuel remaining after landing was below the final reserve fuel. It doesn't say the exact amount. We'll keep an eye out for any of the findings that come out of the investigation. We had 2 cases of wrong aircraft at the wrong airport this month, and they make up this video's hot topic. The stranger occurrence came on the 26th. A Fly to Sky Airbus A320, operating on behalf of United Nigeria Airlines, was performing Flight 504 from Lagos to Abuja. It took off from runway 18 left at Lagos, but strangely, began a turn and set course for the east, rather than towards its destination to the northeast. The tower confirmed the flight's destination, Abuja, but the pilots replied, no, Asaba. 47 minutes later, Flight 504 landed on Asaba's runway 11. Passengers reported their astonishment as the cabin crew welcomed them to Abuja, as they found themselves in a town 160 miles to the south of their ticketed destination. United Nigeria Airlines reported the flight had diverted to Asaba due to weather conditions in Abuja, and there was a miscommunication between the Bulgarian pilots and Nigerian cabin crew due to the language barrier. However, air traffic controllers at Abuja reported that the weather was fine all day, contradicting the statement by the airline. Nigeria's NGCA has opened an investigation and stated that the airline's explanation was unacceptable. According to local media, there may have been confusion between Flight 504 and Flight 506, which was departing around the same time, and the flight crew may have been given a flight plan to Asaba rather than Abuja. But Fly to Sky has rebutted this firmly, stating that their flight plan was in accordance with ICAO standards, and the crew received the proper briefing on their electronic flight bags. Whatever the outcome is of this mess of events, is sure to have far-reaching effects on the wet, damp lease agreement between Fly to Sky and United Nigeria, so we'll keep an eye out for the report. A near miss for a landing at a wrong airport also came about in Brazil, when a LATAM Brazil A320-200, operating Flight 4640 from Sao Paulo to São José, was on approach to its intended destination when the crew received a GPS mismatch caution. The crew soon after commenced an RNAV approach, but air traffic control requested they return to the approach frequency. They then commenced a 360-degree turn and continued their descent, likely believing they spotted the runway. As they returned back to São José's frequency, a split in the shared mental model continued, as the controller asserted they again returned to approach. But the crew ignored the controller, stating they were busy with the landing and they had the airport in sight. São José then finally explained that it seemed they were approaching the wrong airport, Catanduva Aerodrome. The crew initiated a go-around at 1,000 feet and repositioned for a normal approach and landing at the correct airport. The main threat for this occurrence was the significantly shorter runway at Catanduva, just 3,232 feet in length compared to 5,381 at São José. The aircraft departed 15 minutes after landing in São José, but the incident shows why clear and concise communication is paramount to crew resource management and maintaining a shared mental model across an entire operation. On the safety report side of things, we saw a preliminary report come out for one of several near-miss loss of separation incidents that have occurred in America this year, but I'd like to focus on something slightly different. A call to action by the NTSB. In a speech to the Air Traffic Control Association's Global Aviation Conference, Jennifer Homendy, the NTSB chair, acknowledged that mental health issues amongst pilots go unreported and untreated, blaming the FAA's arcane rules as the primary reason. She said it's an open secret that the rules incentivize people to lie and avoid seeking help, and that she's frankly concerned about the safety consequences of a system that unintentionally shames and silences people who are struggling. The NTSB are about to hold a mental health forum on the 6th of December, probably after this video is released. It'll hopefully keep up the momentum for a drive at mental health reform, so we'll keep an eye on it for the next one. Lastly, we've looked at a peculiar set of incidents this month, so I think there's time for one more. On the 3rd of November, a Boeing 737 Serene Air Flight 702 from Dubai to Islamabad landed on runway 28 left when the crew reported they had struck something on the runway. They felt it hit the nose gear, but upon arriving at the gate, a post-flight inspection revealed no damage to the aircraft. An inspection of the runway, however, found the carcass of a wild boar. There are a lot of things that could be hazardous to aircraft on runways, from birds to debris, but this is the first time I've heard a pig being the cause of an issue. It certainly must have been a boring landing. Thanks to the story on AvHerald for the inspiration for that story, as well as the great information they collect on accidents and incidents. They're not a channel sponsor, but I highly recommend checking them out if you're keen to keep up to date with aviation safety. And if you've enjoyed this video, I'd also recommend signing up as a 3 Green Zav geek, where you'll have access to all my collections of notes for each accident and each incident every month. For now though, enjoy your Christmas and New Year, and I'll see you in the next one.